Thank you. The coronavirus has now surged past.
Google реклама.
Part 2 about slow practice. Now, this is something that everybody knows and nobody does. Everybody knows it's good for you and you should do it, and almost nobody really does this consistently. Sort of like the Sermon on the Mount. We all know we're supposed to, but we don't really do it. Slow practice. I'll say it again. Why don't we practice slowly? I think the reason is fairly obvious. We don't practice slowly because we love music and it's fun and we want to hear it go, and slow practice is boring. So, you know, we act like children and give in to our desire to have a lot of fun. So that's really why. The reason it's so important to practice slowly is because practice is rehearsal. You are going to perform
Реклама была создана для Михаила. Он владелец автосервиса, а еще автослесарь.
Preparatory motion to the first note, and it's a single rotation to the 2, double to 3, single from 3 to 1, single from 1 to 2, double from 2 to 3, double to 4, double to 5. Any change of direction, 2 fingers that play opposite to each other, take always a single rotation. And again, when you move quickly, you hardly feel it and you hardly see it. But you know by the result that it is there.
Past 9 million cases in the U.S., with at least 6 states breaking daily records for new cases. And in many remote areas, hospitals are at a breaking point. Our Gabe Gutierrez got exclusive access inside a COVID ICU in a growing hotspot. I have to tell you, some of what you're about to see is hard to take.
St. Vincent Healthcare in Billings, Montana wasn't always among the front lines in the war against COVID. It is now.
I'm a good nurse. And the nurses that I work with are good nurses, but we are broken.
Joey Trawick says he's personally held the hands of 23 of his patients who have died after the first one passed without him.
And I came back to the room at one point and she had passed by herself. And I thought, I'm never going to let that happen again. If I have to stay late after work, if it means coming in on my day off, and they're not going to pass alone on my unit. Again, none of them.
The hospital granted us access with the permission of patients' families to show the devastating impact of the virus. Billings is a city of more than 100,000 people, but this facility takes in critical patients from across the state.
This is one of the hospital's 3 COVID units. At least 14 patients here are on ventilators right now. It's a minute-by-minute struggle.
It's been shocking to me how fast it's accelerated in the last couple weeks.
Dr. Chris Spangen works in the ICU.
You know, a lot of times these 12-hour shifts, they'll morph into 13 and 14-hour shifts. There's just too much to do, and we just can't get it all done.
How close are you to being at capacity right now?
We're close. We're very close. We can probably find beds, but it's going to be at the expense of non-COVID patients.
She came out of retirement earlier this year to rush to New York. Now she's back. The virus followed.
This patient may or may not survive.
She showed us one patient still intubated. Another had just come off his ventilator.
He's improved, but that doesn't mean he's out of the woods yet. He is still very critical.
The toll here is mounting, both for the patients and their caretakers. Joey Trawick has self-isolated for months, sleeping in his basement, away from his wife and 3 kids.
How hard is that for you?
It's a huge impact.
This is why he does it. Late today, he visited one of his patients now in recovery, out of isolation.
He gets to get off of the COVID unit onto a different floor where he can have a visitor perhaps. It's like we've won.
All right, Gabe joins us now. You have been covering this pandemic for months. What struck you today?
Lester, it reminded me a bit of what we saw in New York months ago. The healthcare workers we spoke with today say they're frustrated that more people haven't been wearing masks. They wish at least some of this could have been prevented, Lester.
It just seems like there is no end to the suffering and all this. All right, Gabe, thank you. As the country is consumed by a new wave in the pandemic, there is rising concern about a shortage of medical gloves now. That's obviously crucial for keeping healthcare workers and patients safe. Stephanie Gosk has our NBC News investigation.
10:30 Sunday night in Coral Gables, Florida. A $1 million heist is underway. The cargo, surgical gloves shipped from Malaysia, critical for healthcare workers fighting. COVID, and there are fears of a looming shortage across the country. In South Dakota, where the virus is surging, gloves are now 5 times more expensive.
Are there places where we could see people really run out of gloves in the next few months?
Yeah, I think we will, especially in the smaller rural communities where the hospitals, critical access hospitals, are strapped for cash. They can't afford to buy, a shipping container.
Non-latex medical gloves are manufactured almost entirely in Asia. The only U.S.-owned factory is here in northern New Hampshire. How difficult is it to make this glove?
That's the challenging part. It requires a lot of infrastructure, a lot of raw materials.
For Rich Renahan, alarm bells started going off last February when a man who said he represented the Chinese government offered to buy his whole supply.
I called my friends or associates at the Department of Defense. And I said, hey, these guys are trying to buy all our gloves. I would ship product anywhere, but I want to protect the interests of the USA because we do things right.
Renahan applied for a federal contract. What's going to be here?
A very long building.
He eventually received $22 million, but didn't get the money until September.
We knew there was going to be massive spikes in demand.
The expansion, which will increase production 20-fold, won't be up and running until next summer. HHS tells NBC News they hope to buy 4.5 billion gloves by February, with 700 million ordered already. The agency says it is set to announce a big investment in domestic PPE production.
Why is it so important to bring this production back to the U.S.?
This is life and death. If we don't have these products, people get sick and die.
A tough lesson to learn in the middle of fighting a deadly pandemic. Stephanie Gosk, NBC News, Colebrook, New Hampshire.
Although the economy has made some strides in recovery over the summer, unemployment remains a big issue in the final days before the election, with another 751,000 claims for jobless benefits last week. NBC's Jolene Kent has more.
Нет, вот ты сам вот рассуди, скажи, вот русские мы хорошие люди, нет? Ладно, ладно. Так все люди хорошие, понимаешь? Какая ситуация? Все вот они рождаются как из нет. Я не знаю, это вот есть такая версия. Я вот не знаю. Я просто знаю, что когда я был младенец маленький, мне было нормально, весело, хорошо, понимаешь? На детей посмотришь, они прикольные вроде, но они тоже жрать давай себе, жрать давай. Где там, ну это уже по-моему, я понял, да. Ну ладно, это не понимаешь. Просто все любит и все. Ну ничего, ну ничего. Ну а как? Ну, так дети, это ты такой же, да, это ты, значит, да. Да. Ну просто чему где-то. А, ну все хороши, да. Нет, а чё ты? Ну что, кидать, ну, так, я понял. Так. Ага, видишь ты какой, ты уже расчетливый, ты просто не умеет рожать и как бы, да, типа того. С биологией дружит, думаешь? Не думаешь, с природой нет, с силами натуры, думаешь? Да, просто неадекватная, не знаю, я, короче, ладно, надоел. Здорово, если ты не Ну нет, это всяко бывает, с ними без рода, как здесь. Ну, кое-что доказать, что нужно. Понимаешь? Вот это народ. А здесь это просто слова. Слова, причем европейские. Ну, как бы европейцы говорили так, про францая, фольк там и так далее. Ну, так вообще, ну да. Ну ничего страшного, нет, ничего я тут не пугаю. Это тоже ни к чему хорошему не приведет, если так будет. Ну нет, я к тому, что надо жить, ну да. Ничего страшного. Да, все равно здесь что-то есть, все равно как мы живем нормально. Да, все это отрабатывать, ну, все вроде что-то потихоньку движется, нет? Меня не касается. То есть я, да. Ну, наверное, вот это неинтересно. Но я не хочу. Мне это неинтересно, как мужику, чтобы по всем смыслам, да. Я хочу во всем миру, да. Ну, как бы, ну, наверное. Давай понравилось, если не много, то что-то да. А, Индия, да. Очень мужская страна, Индия. Если мужик, значит, Индия. Отлично, да. Китай говорит, у меня такая, видимо, так, да. Ну, наверное, нет. Кто знает. Ну нет, ты всегда, да, своими делами типа того. Да. Ладно. Нормально, все хорошие люди. Ну да, это очень глубоко изнутри видно. Нет, серьезно. Ну посмотри, ну звери вот плохие, они там могут сожрать. Вот он не хочет тебя жрать, например, динозавр. Он тебя добрый, он все равно сожрет. Потом он тебя понял, да. Ну и мало. Вот до чего дорос. Наверное. Ну, может быть, нет. Я просто так вот. Нормально, короче. Все хорошие. Ладно.
With just 5 days left to vote, the #1 issue for Andrew Paris and millions of Americans is the economy.
I basically have enough money to pay for food and my mortgage.
We first met in April when he lost his longtime bartending job. Now he's scraping by as a busboy. His partial unemployment set to run out in December.
I'll probably be relying on about $400 a week.
And today on the campaign trail,
we left Donald Trump a strong economy, just like everything else he inherited. He blew it.
Do you see the number today? 33.1 GDP, the biggest in the history of our country by almost triple.
GDP, which measures economic activity, did grow a record 33% from July to September. However, the U.S. economy still has not bounced back in full from the huge hit it took during the peak of the shutdowns. And while unemployment claims have come down from record highs, they're still nearly triple what they were pre-pandemic.
The Coliseum here in Los Angeles holds more than 77,000 people. Currently, over 22 million people are unemployed. That is the equivalent of nearly 300 of these.
Мы с тобой теоретики, мы не живем в Нью-Йорке, да? Мы понимаем, да. Наверное, если ты из семьи, где все болеют, там, или там где-нибудь в квартале, где, наверное, конечно, ты тогда так будешь говорить. Если ты, ну это да, это все известно и так, да. Я тебе имею в виду, да, ну если так, ну это слишком абстрактно. Экономика это все, понимаешь? Ты гляди кругом, это люди, которые делают добро тебе. Вот электричество кто-то делает, тепло в доме у меня, понимаешь? Окна тут, да, пусть они допотопные, но все равно кто-то их делал, я говорю, мне окна делать. Синтезаторы там, как угодно. Все, да, ну, например, это уже как бы роскошь. Это же не важно. Роскошь не роскошь, ты как бы, да, СМИ это тоже часть науки, понимаешь, да? Ну да. Ну да. Катастрофа, ты что, русский что ли? Катастрофа, забудь. Понимаешь, до конца не забудется, наверное, да? Ну да. Ну это и все тебе пока все известно, да. Ну, это уж совсем. Это, может быть, я не знаю, этого не знаю. Когда копают и скажут, что там точно все было. Ну, ты знаешь, может, и ядерную какую-то газету положили, и все. Или может просто там, это, да. Да. Я пример был, как же, да. Ну да. Но я не думаю, что такое, как бы, прямо что-то, что тебя забыли, как так может быть. А почти все умерли, остались только деревни, аборигены, не успевали. Да. Ладно. Ну, нет, я просто потому, что и то, и другое ведь правильно, понимаешь? Их послушаешь, получается, что Байден прав, да? Ну да. Мне тоже кажется, что может наоборот, да? Ну да, понимаю, да. Типа того, ну да, ну что ж ты не важно, ну не важно. Не понял.
Stadiums full of people looking for a job.
I'm treading water, but there's definitely a sense of impending doom.
a final report card on the economy as voters make their final decisions. Jolene Kent, NBC News.
An incredible scene today in southeast Texas where a freight train derailed, a motorist shooting video as the cars tumbled onto a road in slow motion. Officials said the train was carrying chemicals. Schools in the area were evacuated, but luckily no one was injured. In just 60 seconds, new fears of shortages of items that were tough to find earlier in this pandemic. Schools in the area road in slow motion. Officials said the train was carrying chemicals. Schools in the area were evacuated, but luckily no one was injured. In just 60 seconds, new fears of shortages of items that were tough to find earlier in this pandemic. What to get now and how? Now to the price you pay, and with COVID surging in many parts of the country, there's new concern about supplies of essential goods. Our Vicky Nguyen now, and how to get what you need now.
Who can forget these images from March? Bare shelves at stores coast to coast. Toilet paper, disinfectant, and hand sanitizer scarce. Now, with election uncertainty and new COVID surges, 57% of consumers surveyed say they are stocking up.
I'm obviously concerned about the food shortages.
But retail experts say don't panic. Stores and food manufacturers are much better equipped to deal with demand.
What do you say to consumers then to tell them not to hoard?
There is plenty of food to go around. You may not have the exact products that you're looking for, but there will be options.
Grocer Albertson says it's seeing shoppers making fewer trips to the store, but buying more with each visit or online order, saying we are incredibly well prepared, but it's still difficult to get items like cleaning sprays, wipes, and flour. General Mills CEO Jeff Harmening items like cleaning sprays, wipes, and flour. General Mills CEO Jeff Harmening says the company has spent the past 7 months preparing for the COVID holiday crush.
We ramped up production on all the things that have sold out, and we're highly confident that there will be product on the
to get items like cleaning sprays, wipes, and flour. General Mills CEO Jeff Harmening says the company has spent the past 7 months preparing for the COVID holiday crush.
We ramped up production on all the things that have sold out, and we're highly confident that there will be product on the shelf available for consumers.
The most in-demand items are shifting too. Baking goods up 3,400% this October compared to this time last year. And now shoppers want to buy more frozen dinners, pasta, snacks, and cleaning products. Tupperware, another surprise winner, stock up 35%, with more of us cooking and storing leftovers at home. For tech-savvy shoppers, many websites alert you when hard-to-find products are restocked.
So, Vicky, what can we do to get what we need?
Lester, experts say the key to getting what you need is to make a list now, don't hoard, and shop early. Demand for holiday groceries is expected to peak in the 2 weeks ahead of Thanksgiving. Lester?
All right, Vicky Nguyen tonight, thank you. Up next, how to make it a safe Halloween. In Washington state, scientists have captured 2 huge murder hornet queens just days after they discovered and destroyed a nest in that same tree. The COVID crisis has many families destroyed a nest in that same tree. The COVID crisis has many families concerned as they get ready for Halloween on Saturday. Kristen Dahlgren with some tips to stay safe.
This year, Halloween may be scarier than ever, amid fears that holiday traditions could turn into a super spreader event.
Thumbs up or thumbs down Halloween house parties?
Thumbs down. Too many people, too close together.
That big bowl of Halloween candy.
Thumbs down. Too many hands in one area and you can get contaminated that way.
Instead, experts recommend individually packaged candy left outside to avoid too many hands ringing that doorbell. One Colorado mom put candy on individual sticks. When you get home, wipe it down. Bottom line, make common sense a part of your costume.
Keep social distancing in mind, wear a mask, and wash your hands.
That werewolf mask isn't a substitute. Finally, especially in hot spots, think about keeping activities in your own home. A Halloween scavenger hunt.
Hey guys, I found it!
Or some spooky stargazing. According to the Farmer's Almanac, this will be the first Halloween the full moon has appeared in all time zones since 1944. Quite a treat in a very tricky year. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News.
Up next for us, we'll meet a young athlete making history and inspiring America. Finally, the young athlete hoping to make history in 9 days at one of the toughest competitions around. Katie Beck with Inspiring America.
Few athletic events test the limits of human endurance more than an Ironman. What do you think you'll feel when you finish?
I'll be amazing.
Amazing for anyone, but beyond for 21-year-old Chris Nikic. Organizers say he's the first person with Down syndrome to ever attempt one.
I can prove to kids that if I can do it, then they can do it too.
He'll swim 2.4 miles in open water, then ride 112 miles, and run a full marathon, 26.2 miles. 4 to 8 hours a day is training time. Chris's motto, get 1% better every day.
Iron Man?
Iron.
And eat more rice.
Yes.
Victories hard-earned for a boy who endured countless surgeries, couldn't walk until age 4, or eat solid foods until 5. Chris's parents want others raising children with Down syndrome to see new possibility in Chris's journey.
We want them to realize earlier that their child is a blessing and they could live an amazing life.
Parents are reaching out to me saying that I'm the hero to the kids, and it is possible for them.
All right, let's go.
His goal will change history. His determination?
You are an Iron Man!
Already changing hearts and minds. Katie Beck, NBC News.
No limits. Pretty awesome. That's Nightly News for this Thursday. Thank you for watching. I'm Lester Holt. Please take care of yourself and each other. Good night. Hey, NBC News viewers. Thanks for
Нет, так зачем? Давай наоборот, подожди, да, я помню.
I'd say there's potential.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ate the sharpest tool in the shed. She was looking kind of done with her finger and her thumb in the shape of an L on her forehead. Well, the years man, they don't stop coming up to the roads, I'll hit the ground running. Didn't make sense not to live for fun. This brain gets smart, but your head gets numb. So much to do, so much to see. So what's wrong with taking the back streets? You'll never know if it don't go. You'll never shine if you don't glow. Hey now, you're an all-star. Get your game on, go play. Hey now, you're a rock star. Get the show on, get paid. Only shooting stars break the
Get your butt down off that table. Yeah. Get down. You don't get to tell me what to do. I'm your boss, so you're 18. Now get down. Get down. Get down. What you call me? Get down. This second.
ХХРУ. Работа в твоем городе.
Ищу людей на ХХРУ. Фронт работы огромный. Сельхоз сейчас на подъеме. Зарплаты выше, чем в городе.
Недавно открыли.
Let's make Dancler howl. Ow! Ow!
We begin tonight with one state, two candidates, and two very different ways of campaigning in a pandemic. One, about as safe as you can make it, given the circumstances. The other, about as reckless as you can be, packing maskless people close together in a state with soaring numbers of people who are already infected. And at one of those stops in Tampa, the President of the United States said something that we want to let you hear for yourselves.
So today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about rotation.
It is so shameless.
And the rotational ideas come from Dorothy Taubman.
And cynical be packing maskless people close together in a state with soaring numbers of people who are already infected. And at one of those stops in Tampa, the President of the United States said something that we want to let you hear for yourselves because it is so shameless and cynical and is such a lie that even for this president, it's remarkable. This is the president in a rally with large crowds, most of whom are, as always, not wearing masks. The people behind him, as you'll see, have been given masks because the campaign knows they're going to be on TV and they want you to think the president is being responsible, but he's not. Most in the actual crowd are not wearing masks and are crammed together as close as possible. Here's the president's new claim.
We know the disease, we social distance, we do all of the things that you have to do. If you get close, wear a mask. Always controversial. It's not controversial to me. You get close, you wear a mask. Social distance, social distance.
Wow. I mean, this guy has no shame. He's telling a crowd of largely unmasked people who, as you see, are standing shoulder to shoulder, shoulder often rubbing against shoulder. Yeah, we social distance, he says. We do all the things that you have to do. And folks are nodding their heads, clapping, cheering, spreading droplets into the air and onto the people around them, packed in tight. You get close, the president says, you wear a mask to a crowd of people who are close and not wearing masks. And he's saying it as if he's been saying this for months. Social distance, he says, to again, a crowd not social distance. I gotta say, it is painful to watch people who also cheered when he mocked masks and social distancing They cheered when he mocked those very same things. Now he is suddenly a convert. It's like he pulls the rug out from under them and they go along with it. He is suddenly a convert. It's like he pulls the rug out from under them and they go along with it. People in that crowd are going to contract COVID. That is the sad reality, and some may die. CNN's Dr. Sanjay Gupta and the CNN medical team investigated what happened after 17 Trump rallies around the country. They found in 82% of the events, the rate of cases rose a month later. And after more than half the rallies, they rose faster than the overall rate for the states in which they were held. Sanjay joins us shortly, along with an infectious disease specialist, seeing it all up close in Florida. In the meantime, think about all the times that the president has mocked Joe Biden for his social distancing circles and drive-in events, or reporters for wearing a mask, as he did just last week in the Oval Office.
This is Jeff Mason. He's got a mask on that's the largest mask I think I've ever seen. So I don't know if you can hear him.
So no, the president hasn't always been a fan of mask wearing or social distancing, and he isn't a fan of it now. Here's the president at a recent ABC News town hall.
There are a lot of people think the masks are not good. And there are a lot of people that, as an example,
Who are those people?
Well, I'll tell you who those people are. Waiters, they come over and they serve you and they have a mask. And I saw it the other day where they were serving me. And they're playing with a mask. I'm not blaming them, I'm just saying what happens. They're playing with a mask, so the mask is over and they're touching it and then they're touching the plate. That can't be good.
Now, keeping them honest, researchers at the University of Washington released a study projecting that 100,000 lives could be saved, American lives could be saved over just the next few months if everyone did what the president said is maybe not such a good thing, apparently because he's seen waiters touch their faces. And now he's saying he's always been for it, having spent months making it controversial. Even when he announced the CDC guidelines on masks, he started to critique them as he announced them, saying he wouldn't do it. It's like an arsonist who's back at the scene giving firefighting tips, or sending his chief of staff onto CBS This Morning. I mean, this guy. First, Mark Meadows, first he lies about the administration's stance on all of the above, then he pivots to his own restaurant experience, which we're dying to hear, which apparently isn't shared by many these days, about how icky they can be.
А мы за продуктами.
Идем за продуктами.
The reason I want to jump in here is because I just want to clarify. I'm glad to hear you say that you're using Purell and that people should socially distance and wear a mask. That is not the example being set by the president. I believe it was Asa Hutchinson on Sunday on Face the Nation who said it's a little confusing for people. The president himself, your office, the vice president's office, they are not following their own guidelines. Can you see how that's a problem for people?
Well, I can tell you that I'm following the guidelines, and a number of us are following the guidelines as you look at it. Obviously, a number of us continue to look at this particular environment, and it's an unusual environment that we have, and so as we try to make sure that we come into contact with other people, making sure that we socially distance as much as possible, wearing those masks when we can. We strongly encourage that. I also, for all of you that are watching this morning, is if you can carry a little container of Purell. I mean, just think about it in a restaurant environment. You know, you're drinking from a drinking glass. Well, that drinking glass probably has been filled by a waiter or waitress that has touched every other glass. And so I'm hyper vigilant as we look at that. We don't think about the ways that we potentially can become infected.
Can you believe this guy? I mean, what is he talking about? I mean, that went on for what, like 30, 40 seconds. He's saying that, he's seen waiters and I'm really just stunned that the chief of staff of the president of the United States is encouraging mask wearing and saying, oh yeah, no, when asked about the administration, about the fact that the administration has become infected with COVID because they haven't been following guidelines, and the vice president, the people around the vice president are now currently infected. The chief of staff blows that off and just says, well, I do it, you know, and in fact, here's a little tip. Bring some Purell with you. Oh, thanks, Dr. Fauci. Wow. I mean, wow, Purell, who thought of that? I mean, this is incredible that he is acting as if the fact that he personally does this somehow makes up for the fact that the man he represents and the man he works for is not doing this. And they're right as he's speaking, that very day, they're going to have a bunch of rallies that are potentially super spreader events with thousands of people shoulder to shoulder cheering, spewing droplets on each other. And they're not telling those people to social distance. Other than the president's one little line today, I mean, I'm sorry, he's somebody who's supposed to be responsible, and that's his response. Man, we are in trouble. We are in trouble. Sure, you can catch COVID from contaminated surfaces, but the
Чай зеленый, зеленый как глаза. Знаешь, только спину не разминаешь, вот что тебе скажу, да? Я тоже сейчас, просто я уже разогнался, что-то, не знаю. Я что-то делаю не так просто. Ну, не так идеально. Надо просто, да, ну, не то, что идеально, надо совершенно, да. Как показатель здоровья, да. Ты как сам считаешь? Ну да. Ну и что? Ну да, да. Ну, не думаю. Понимаешь? Да, он тебя понял, да. Мне тоже стрёмно, понимаешь, такой изнеженный. А мне на работу даже никто не... Я все бесплатно, как вообще человек понарошку, понимаешь, как бы. Ну ладно, мне вроде когда жизнь-то прошла, а году наоборот. Не то, что я изъеден.
primary mode of transportation is airborne. Even the president knows this.
А что это я остановлю? Ты даже меня не слышишь ведь? Там запись-то еле слышно и все.
And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus.
Как ты думаешь, почему тогда? Ну да. Ну нет, ну типа самые богатые, они способны ебать. Ну нет, ну да. Ну ты же не тупой, надевай маску, дезинфицируйся. Ну это же твои проблемы. Давайте сейчас всю экономику поставим. Да, чтобы китайцы всех обогнали. Эта популяция хочет, как и вся другая, хочет жить, жрать, срать, смотреть телевизор, а это все работа. Жить в домах, домы, там, это все труды, понимаешь, это все деньги. Ну то есть, ну, деньги хер с ними. Это все работа, понимаешь? Работа это, да. Нет, не надо страну закрывать, будем местное производить. Нормально. Мне уже не так она нравится на четвертый день, я уже смотрю на нее. Ну нет, ну вот это вот настоящая женщина, понимаешь? Вот, да. Хочешь что-то жену такую, а куда денешься, все такие?
That was the 7th of February, back when he was saying that privately to Bob Woodward, but publicly saying
Нет,
it all
они
just
такие,
magic.
да, они вот реально такие. То есть, да, ты их можешь заставить быть нормальными, но ненадолго. То есть, если ты их оставишь в покое, они вот такие, да. Представляешь, они сами, да, ну, типа,
Disappear with his buddies Diamond and Silk. Where have they been recently, though? The memory is so vivid, why it's almost as if he were saying it just this afternoon.
Our vaccine.
Нет, ты понимаешь, то есть как бы да, я понял. Ну ладно. А, да. Ну нет, ну ладно.
We'll eradicate the virus, and by the way, we have it. But whether we have it or not, it's rounding the turn. It's rounding the turn.
He's almost bored of that phrase by now. It's rounding the turn. It's rounding the turn. It's not. It's not. The president's simply lying there. As we reported at the top, this has been the worst single day for new cases in the entire pandemic. More than 83,000 new cases and counting, and at least 940 people dead as of 8 p.m. 9 minutes ago. Maybe more have died just in the last 9 minutes. A bit later in the program, we're going to talk about new CNN.
Ну, наверное, тут из контекста вырвано, да? Ну, что он имел в виду, что вот это как бы там, что будет вакцина, и что да, ну, мне тоже так думается. То есть значение этих слов. Ну да. Ну это не важно, это профессия такая, прочеркнуть, наверное, так же. Но это не касается. Ну нет. Ну он тебя понял. Наоборот, он тебя понял.
Reporting that the president's influential but unqualified radiologist, member of the task force. In fact, he seems to be the only member of the task force really left in any good standing with the president. He's the president's whisperer. That guy, Scott Atlas, he's been pushing states to not test so many people. And one state reportedly listened. And guess where that is? Yep, Florida, where Joe Biden held a socially distant event today, where the president held a potential super spreader event, and where new cases are rising again, topping 4,000 today.
Сейчас.
After an historic 227-year campaign, I found myself at another Trump rally.
Сейчас они меня. Всем привет, hello. Как ты дома? Смешно, ну нет, не смотреть даже не будет.
One of three he was having in Pennsylvania that very day. And And while there was still some of the usual, totally realistic expectations,
I'm calling 47 states for Trump.
At this rally, in the final week of election season, I noticed something different. It was quiet.
Are people just tired?
You know, I think people are exhausted.
Me too.
And I'm ready to move on.
I've been to a lot of Trump rallies before, and I have to say this is probably the most subdued rally I've been to. It's eerily quiet. You can hear a QAnon push notification. It's Trump rallies before, and I have to say this is probably the most subdued rally I've been to. It's eerily quiet. You can hear a QAnon push notification ding in someone's pocket. This was a chance to hear Trump make his final case, and frankly, for MAGA country to do the same.
It's about the economy. He provided jobs. And when people are working and not out looting and burning cities.
Historically, this presidency has lost more jobs than any other.
That's not true.
It's not true.
No, he has not.
He has not.
I'd be like, Tony, I need my sheet. I'm going to give you facts. Come on.
Give me facts.
The facts, that fact sheet.
What's on the fact sheet?
I'm going to show you.
The fact sheet is that in my car.
We have not had a fact sheet before. This is good.
Oh, really? Okay.
Bring it, bring it.
I'm bringing it.
I hope it doesn't have a list of all the dead, because that thing's going to be huge.
Okay, jobs added, 4 million. Under Biden and Obama, negative 2.8
What is the
million.
website you're on?
I don't know.
You don't know? Well, I'll have to Google it. Okay, so her friend didn't have the facts, but she did have the Zinfandel.
Let's talk about African American communities and all the things he's done for that.
Great. What has he done?
With the, what's the jail thing? You know, where he was corrected the,
You gotta help me out here.
Tony, come here.
While I waited for Tony to get her shit together, I wanted to wrap my head around their Hail Mary October surprise. And that's Hunter Biden and his, well, I'll just let them explain it.
You can see on, Fox and One American News about the laptop, the Hunter Biden's laptop, and then all the corruption taking money from the different countries, from Russia and China. Then Joe Biden would do whatever these countries needed.
Well, what did he do?
Oh, either what he did or did not do.
What did he do?
Well, it's yet to be determined exactly what he did.
I saw pedophilia in China, something like that.
Do you believe it?
I don't know. That's something I have to look into a lot more.
We see about the Hunter Biden scandal.
What exactly happened with that?
I think they found a laptop that had emails.
Who did?
Who was it?
FBI.
They found a laptop with emails and pictures of Biden talking with Ukraine and China about business deals and stuff like that. And
Which Biden?
Hunter Biden.
Did something happen?
They want to push it to get it, get the investigation underway before the election.
Yeah.
But what's the investigation on?
About just the laptop and
just what was on it.
What was on the laptop?
I mean, conspiracy theorists would say that it's Joe Biden and Hunter Biden communicating with, outside countries on business deals and stuff like that.
Are you calling him a conspiracy theorist? That's just what he said.
Right.
The conspiracy, some people...
Only because it hasn't been proven
yet.
Make a ton of money and do absolutely nothing except say, hey, you can meet my dad.
That's a disgusting trait, right? To just use your father's name to make money off of that?
Absolutely. Nepotism needs to be looked into big time.
Yes. What do you think about Ivanka?
Oh, she's so gracious.
I see Ivanka as someone who is following or creating and enhancing people's lives around jobs and training and whatever causes she has, just like Lady Diana had 20 years ago. She had certain causes, AIDS and different things like that she was involved in.
Was Lady Diana seeking copyrights in China while she had a position of power?
I don't know what you're talking about.
As the horn rang and the masses filed into the last rally, there was a bittersweet feeling in the air. Folks are heading on in. This is the last chance for them to get unfettered access to the President of the United States. After this, it might be through plexiglass, maybe with a telephone. If this somber attitude was a reflection of what could happen on Election Day, are these folks prepared for a world post-Trump? Trump could totally win. If for some chance he doesn't win, what happens to all of this afterwards?
Me personally?
Sure.
I will not live under a socialist government. And just look up the 3 red flags. On the Biden campaign poster, there's the 3 red lines.
Yeah.
Look it up on Google.
Well, I think it's an E.
It's supposed to be an E, but look at the 3 red flags or 3 red banners.
And they mean?
Communism.
He stuck communism right there on the flag?
You got it.
Really? You don't want to be in a place of socialized medicine?
Nope.
So where would you go?
I'm going to look at Costa Rica.
Costa Rica, which has universal health care.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to live under socialist rule. I don't think Biden's going to make the 4 years, and the Camelback, forget it.
The Camelback, who's that?
Kamala.
Oh, wow. That both mispronounced the name and xenophobic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's a twofer. If they don't take you in Costa Rica, I'm sure Argentina would welcome you and your point of view with open arms. So the pitches have been made and the escape routes planned. Nothing left to do other than vote your asses off and hope we get the results soon. Until then, I'll be hiding out right here. Good luck, America.
А не бывает такого. Ты не можешь просто этнокультуре учить, ты против кого-то должен. Потом скажешь, меня не касается, что-то надоело. Народ, ну ладно. Ну нет, куда же ты Я не понимаю, что это значит мы сделали. Может быть, складывается. Нет, ну надо, да, что ну, короче, не считал. Нет, ты сам вырезаешь. Я даже не шучу просто. Ну да, это понятно, но все равно. Ну не путай понятия просто, да? Ну просто де-факто, да? Я бы не был бы себя бы делать. Нет, ну а что это может быть? Смотри, женщина как бы, да, забрюхатила, типа, ты умер. Она родила, ты уже не сможешь сказать, что мы это сделали. Или когда ты можешь, ну тогда. Так она это сделала-то, не ты, она ничего не делала, куда деваться, наоборот, тогда бы сказала. как-нибудь, знаете, как-нибудь без этого, да. Монтаж, говорит, нет, ну я понял. Ну, типа того. Это вроде как, ну, нет, ну а что, ты тебе что, на таксях не привезут, что ли, куда там надо в больницу, и ты что, водить не сможешь, так, что ли, или что? Ну нет, ну да. Ну очень здоровая, наверное, потому что откуда я знаю, почему она может, нет. Ну, гипотетически. А, вот это имеется в виду, нет, она себе так думает. Нет, ну короче, не надо путать. Она это сделала, а не ты, если кто-то что-то делал там, то может не ты точно. Тебя могло бы вообще не быть. Ну как бы, а как? Ну так это просто так вот оно и все, точка, да. Нет, я не тупой, я просто говорю, что путать. Вот для чего он сказал, мы это сделали, подумай. Вдумайся в это, чувствуйся немножко, да. Ну да, по-мужски. Ну ладно, не касается. Ну ладно, забудь. Ну, да, ну, наверное. Да ты уже делаешь. Да. А типа его нельзя, наоборот. Делать можно. Как считаешь, серьезно? Да, может быть, никто... Да, наверное. Ну, это уже другой вопрос. Ну, да. Да. Ну нет, я не могу тебе найти, да, простой ответ, да. Нет, ну ладно. Ну живи вместе со своей женой в обнимку целый день. Катайся с ней, все равно тебе делать нехрен. Тебе делать нехрен, вот и все, да. Ну нет, он тебе так говорит, так он тебя понял уже, ой, так завидуешь. Нет, если должен просто, да. Рожает она, следовательно говоря, нужен специалист какой-то, ну, за руку подержать. А если ты президент, у тебя выборы сейчас. Ну, типа того. Ну, как бы, да. Типа того. Ну, если у тебя дела какие-то, ну, президент это шлюха, или давай что-нибудь, если у тебя нормально, если у тебя есть чем заняться. Если ты, ну, типа того. Ну, ладно. Ну, меня не касается. Ну, да. Народ, не надо. Ну, наверное, может, не знаю, в какой-то момент, возможно, да. Ну, ладно, просвещай меня, да, еще. Да. Ну, да. Да. Получается так.
Hi everyone, I'm Josh Wright. I recently reached out to another very well-known YouTube piano teacher, Paul Barton, and asked him, hey, would you like to do a collaboration of some sort sometime? I would love for our audiences to get to know each other's channels. He runs a very successful YouTube channel, and we've been doing it about the same length of time. And he said, well, this is kind of a out of the ordinary idea, but what if I painted your portrait as people got to know you and answered some questions that you may not already have covered on your YouTube channel? I said, well, I would have never thought of that, but that sounds like a lot of fun. And I have seen his art channel. He has both a piano teaching channel and an art channel, and it is phenomenal. He is an amazing artist in addition to being a great pianist and teacher. So let's get started. I'm originally from Utah in the United States, and I currently live here with my wife and baby daughter, who is 2 years old. They are the loves of my life, along with piano, of course. I spent a few years back at the University of Michigan getting my doctorate degree in piano performance, studying with Dr. Logan Skelton. I also have had the opportunity to study with Sergei Babayan, as well as my lifelong teacher, who I started with when I was 9 years old, Dr. Susan Duhlmeyer. My passion for piano originally began when my mom was teaching piano lessons in our basement, and I would beg her every day, can I please take piano lessons? And when I was around 4.5 years old, she said, fine, I'll teach you all of the names of the notes. Of course, she'd let me tinker around with the piano whenever I wanted to, but she didn't want to start me too early to the point where I'd lose interest. So it was quite smart of her. She had me go stand in the corner after she taught me the names of each of the notes and said, Kate, say these names back to me, the names of these notes back to me. And I thought, okay, I guess this is a standard exercise she does with all of her students. And she said, oh my goodness, you can do that. You have perfect pitch. And a 4.5-year-old doesn't think much of that, but it has been a blessing to have perfect pitch, and sometimes actually a curse in certain theory and music history classes when they start playing things in different keys so you can't cheat and just memorize the name of the key that you're in. So that's how I originally got started playing the piano, as just from my mom. And of course, as a 4.5-year-old, you know everything. So within a few months, I knew too much for her piano teaching. So I ended up going to my grandma, who taught me for 4.5 years. And she was unbelievably amazing teacher. And I feel so lucky to have got to study with her. She instilled a very great love for music and art and everything beautiful in life. My grandma is a very classy lady. She's an accomplished painter, pianist, organist, and does many other things.
Я охереть, видишь?
The first piece of music that really grabbed my attention that I can remember was a piece that was performed at the Utah Symphony. I can't even remember what piece it was. However, it was Ryan Brown of the Five Browns playing with the Utah Symphony. My parents, my dad's a stonemason. My mom grew up, she did some piano studies in college. She played piano throughout her whole life. But I don't come from classical studies in college. She played piano throughout her whole life. But I don't come from classical professional musician background. And it was amazing that my parents would take the time to buy season tickets to go see all of these concerts with the Utah Symphony, especially when my dad had grown up with basically no music in his household. He could play a couple of church hymns, and that's about it. And I remember seeing Ryan play, and I turned to my parents and I said, I want to do that. I'm going to do that. And they said, oh, really? Okay. And so they talked to my grandma and they said, he wants to do this. What do you think we should do? And she said, I think it's time for him to go to a more advanced teacher. So that's when I went to Dr. Susan Duhlmeyer. And within, I think about a year, I had learned my first Mozart concerto, and I played it with a little 9-piece orchestra that Susan had put together for a few of her students. And I remember that was so thrilling for me. It's the Mozart concerto in E-flat major, K271. And I remember playing that as a young boy and just being so excited, so filled with passion. And I said, I want to keep doing this. I really want to play with the Utah Symphony. She said, okay, we're going to have to work like crazy. So we ended up learning the Mendelssohn Concerto in G minor, third movement. Beautiful piece. And I won a local competition, which then qualified me to audition for the Utah Symphony. And by some stroke of luck and really good preparation and help from my teacher, I was able to play with the Utah Symphony.
Ну нет, это нехорошо, конечно, но мы так не жили, понимаешь? Мы вообще никак не жили. Алкашня просто.
It was
Мать
very
просто алкашня, блин. Отец тоже, да, нет, я не осуждаю, я просто говорю, как бы де-факто, понимаешь. Наверное, моя гипотеза, я не хочу никого обидеть, ничего сказать. Просто отец как бы не держал высоты в бизнесе, потому что ему как-то пофиг на это было, наверное, да. Да. Он не этим хотел заниматься, на самом деле, да. Вроде как, типа того, да. Ну да, он сам так. Ладно. Ну да, ладно. Ну да. Нет. Ну, этим надо нормально заниматься, понимаешь. Я вот все равно тебе просто вот общественный строй, просто вот надо, вот он обычный студент, там, обычный, как оно принято. Это уже другое, как что у тебя там, это все фигня. А что в этом обществе ты такой-то, такой-то гражданин, ты такой-то, такой-то выполняешь, или ты человек, который бизнесмен, делает такой-то, или какой-то консультант, например, официальный, легальный, там какой-то, да, то есть, ну нет, он тебя понимает, ну да, типа, за деньги. Если не за деньги, то как бы, ну, ладно. Подаяние, типа, ну, такое тоже нет, а почему нет? Вот краудфандинг, эти же, эти твистеры всякие. Ну, это уже когда становится таким, да-да-да. Ну, не совсем charity, понимаешь? Да. Ну, как бы да. Ну, так вот все шуты жили, да. Зажили, слушай, да, я понял. Ну, а как? Не, ну, а что я просто думаю, да. Не знаю, ну есть, это ты уже просто сказал, но ничего особенного, да, это уже болезнь какая-то, больное уже просто движение. Да. Нет, так гипотетически, смотри, есть время, есть я, да, типа того. Ну я бы не сказал, что так замашки своего, ну типа того. Ну, понимаешь, да? Нет, для меня это был критический вопрос. Если ты бухаешь, то у тебя как бы вообще крышу сносит. Ну а как вот объяснить? Если ты бухаешь, у тебя нет времени, ты будешь вечно болеть с похмелья, понимаешь? Ну нет, без разницы, это все точно так же и осталось, просто, да. Хорошо, вот это важный момент, замечание, да, заметил себе. Да, понимаешь, то есть, как бы, да. Вот я и говорю же, вечная праздность какая-то, мультипуксы, телевизоры, телепузики какие-то, да, вечно какая-то, отдыхамус какой-то, да, постоянно. Да, ну нет, наоборот, да, понял, да. Ничего нормального нет, ничего. Да, как, ну неважно. Да. Ну нет, что-то, ну нет, понял. Ну нет. Ну а как? Ты сам, да, это не очень-то наоборот, да. А что надо-то было? Ну, то есть надо на работу, ну как бы да, а в чем вообще? Это надо на тренировать, понимаешь? У меня есть, я слаб в этом, да, в тренажерку ходил, но как бы, понятно, я просто перебор там делал. Кстати, похоже, у меня тоже больше логично, как бы, да, понимаю. Возможно, а как бы все равно, то есть какая гипотеза? Гипотеза такая, значит, меньше надо нагружаться, да, ну, типа того, да. Ну и как бы переключать с одного на другое, типа того, да. Ну и все равно, да. Например, технику, технику она опять, она кому нужна техника? Ну это никуда не вот это вот имеется в виду. Что деваться все равно некуда, да? Мы все занимаемся так или иначе техникой. Ну как бы да, а хочется как-то так, да, по-еврейски, близнуть как-то, да. Да, чтобы быстро, да. И я не такой видел, да? Нет? Только ты, да. Это травма, да. Это серьезно, это может быть, да. Серьезно, да. Ой, просто. Ты можешь быть неправ здесь, понимаешь? Может, такого не тебя понял. Ты можешь да. И я тебе больше скажу, это шизики обычно пойдут. Ну, то есть это как бы, да, ну, понимаю. Да. То есть за это держаться не надо, но тебя потопит просто. Да. Возможно, скорее всего. Ну, какой-то есть все равно, ускорялка какая-то найдется, должна. Ну, ты так не думаешь, ладно, ты так не считаешь. Да, это у меня тоже разные были дефекты. Там, чтение с листа, с места. Да. Нет, мне ничего не мешает гипотетически вернуться к этой практике порочной, да. Да, может я застрял где-то в одном, а может быть и нет. что-то произошло, да. Привет, Мэйзи. Привет, Мэйзи, привет, привет. Hello. Ты живешь не зря. Живешь не зря, живешь. Жить надо вперед. Ладно.
Tough to get that opportunity. I remember.
Нет, знаешь, какой вот, да, ну вот да, в основном я понял.
Remember, she was saying, tough to get that opportunity. I remember she was saying, even though you qualified to audition, there was like 50 kids, and I think only 7 or 8 of us were chosen. So part of it was luck because they had to make a nice program that would flow, but I was the youngest kid on the concert, and that set me up for a lot of years of continuing to want to compete internationally, to play as much music of Chopin as I could. I remember I played all the etudes when I was, I started learning them when I was 13, and then I recorded all of them when I was 15. And that was a passion project for me, and I wanted to just have music be a part of my life every single day.
Ну, наверное, да. То есть замещение, вымещение, наверное, как-то так.
You are not a brand. You are not a job title. You are not a social media bio.
My childhood heroes and greatest influencers were obviously my parents and Susan Duhlmeyer, my teacher. I also am very religious, so I feel that God has played the most monumental role in helping me in my life. My beautiful wife, Lindsay, when I turned, I think it was 16, I asked her on a date and said, and we had dinner and we went to a movie. It was a great time. And then I thought, oh, what excuse could I use to have this beautiful girl continue to hang out with me? So I thought, she's really good at theory and I am terrible at theory. So what if I asked her for theory lessons before I went to college, because I was doing early admissions up to the university. So she said, oh yeah, let's do that. And we became great friends and we started dating, fell in love. So she was obviously a major influence in my life as well. So far as pianistic heroes, Murray Pariah was my most influential favorite concert pianist. I remember obsessing over Murray Pariah's sound. I remember this one piece in particular, the Chopin Concerto No. 2, and I've done video tutorials on this particular passage, getting that pearly sound. I remember thinking, how is he doing that? And it was so life-changing. And same thing with the Mozart Concerto. How does he get that light touch? I would obsess over his recordings. I would listen to them over and over and over again. So I would say Murray Pariah was one of my greatest influences, only to be trumped by Sergei Babayan when I met Sergei Babayan, and after the first lesson with him at his Sergei Babayan International Piano Academy, my mind was completely blown, and I thought, I've never experienced music quite like I do when I am listening to him talk about music. It is life-changing. If anyone knows him and has observed his lessons or his concerts, you know what I'm talking about. be honest, I don't do a whole lot outside of piano because I teach privately, I perform, so that requires a lot of practice. I do a lot of free video tutorials on YouTube, and I have a lot of paid online video courses as well. So that takes up the majority of my time, but things I like to do outside of playing the piano is traveling with my family. We've been very fortunate because of piano to travel to many places in Europe. A lot of paid online video courses as well. So that takes up the majority of my time, but things I like to do, and I have a lot of paid online video courses as well. So that takes up the majority of my time, but things I like to do outside of playing the piano is traveling with my family. We've been very fortunate because of piano to travel to many places in Europe. Some of my favorites were Iceland and Poland and Norway. It's just beautiful. I'm totally in love with Scandinavia, especially. I also really enjoy playing golf, and I also like weightlifting. A funny story or anecdote. Mr. Babayan, if you're watching this, I apologize again for being so ridiculous that night, but part of my religion is I don't drink coffee, tea, or consume tobacco or alcohol. That's very important to preface this story. So my friend Jolt and I were getting ready to go to dinner, and he said, why don't we invite Mr. Babayan to meet us at dinner? And so I said, okay, that sounds great. So we call him, and he said, and I'll do my best Babayan accent. I'm sure I'll botch it, but he said, oh, wonderful. I would love to meet you for dinner. Please meet me at Great Lakes Brewing Company. They have the best beers. And so we arrive, and he said, what beer will you get, Joshua? And I said, and Jolt actually said, oh, Mr. Babayan, Josh doesn't drink alcohol. And so Mr. Babayan said, okay, no problem. Waiter, bring Joshua non-alcoholic beer. And so when the waiter brought it, Mr. Babayan said, I must try this. I have never tried non-alcoholic beer. And so he tried it. He's like, that is disgusting. Why would you order such a thing? So funny. So I thought, okay, we're out of the woods here. So he said, my apartment is just down the street. Let's go back up for some dessert. And so I said, okay. And he said, as we walked into the apartment, what would you prefer, coffee or tea? And I thought, oh boy, actually I don't drink either of those as well. And so he said, oh, for Joshua, just water. Okay. And after he finished his coffee and I had my water and Jolt had his coffee or tea, he said, I'm afraid to ask, but maybe you want to go out onto the porch and have a smoke with me, or maybe you don't do that either. And I said, oh no, you're right. And I thought, oh, thank heavens, we've covered all 4 bases now. I can't possibly offend him anymore. And so he came back inside. He said, for dessert, a beautiful pecan pie from Whole Foods. And I said, I am so sorry, but I am allergic to nuts. So that was probably the funniest and most embarrassing story of my musical life with a teacher. So Mr. Babayan, I'm sorry again, but that always has stuck in my mind as a great memory and something I'll always cherish. It's that night with you and Jolt. So thank you so much.
Yeah, religion is not it. Oh, yeah. Okay.